Our third lecture of this unit is going to be about fronts and the life cycle of mid-latitude cyclones. It's going to be on pages 264 through 273, and then page 278 to 282. There's going to be a figure up here in the top right corner of page 265 that shows how different kinds of fronts are drawn. You're going to need to know that on the next test. You'll have drawn lots of fronts by then, but I just want to call your attention to it. In the meantime, this page is about cold fronts, and I like the picture at the bottom of the page that depicts the structure of a cold front. Don't worry about this business up here about Pineapple Express. I hate that terminology. And then we're going to move on to warm fronts, and there's a key concept in warm fronts. I've double marked it here as overrunning. Make sure you understand that concept. And there's a structure of a warm front, how warm fronts are different from cold fronts. And stationary fronts and occluded fronts are on here. Notice, by the way, this awesome tutorial that's on your your textbook CD about cyclones. It has lots of things much better than I can draw them on there, and I really do recommend answering the questions that are on there and doing the activities that are on that tutorial. Alright, and as far as occlusions go, this figure that I have marked up here is probably your most important figure for occluded cyclones. And occluded fronts. Make sure you understand what's going on here on page 270. And on page 271 it moves on to the fifth type of front, which is dry lines. And just shows you the kind of places you expect dry lines and the kind of weather you find along them and so on. And that's all there is for the chapter about fronts. Now we're going to do a little bit about cyclones. I mean, we're going to spend a lot of time on cyclones, but we're only going to read a little bit about them. Cyclones are just areas of low pressure in mid-latitudes. There's actually two separate explanations of how cyclones work in your textbook, and we're going to work with the one that's labeled polar front theory on page 279. That's in contrast to conveyor belt theory, which is the second half of this chapter, and I don't see a lot of advantage to giving two equally valid yet conflicting explanations. I don't think that helps you learn it. So we're going to go ahead and just stick with one of them. We'll use polar front theory. And the basic outline of what goes on in polar front theory is sketched in this diagram on page 280. So make sure you understand that view. It's a lot better than anything I could have drawn. And from the polar front theory point of view, the process of creating a cyclone is called cyclogenesis, which actually continues over into the next lecture, but the readings will start here. And it's just some basic processes of how cyclones die as well through the process known as cyclolysis. Okay, so this isn't really all that many pages, lots of big figures. It shouldn't be too hard to read. Let me know if you have any questions. This has been Dr. John Truggy, copyright 2006.